Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SI Talk und ich habe jetzt wieder eine ganz spannende Sache, was Neues. Es geht um Helium. Wir haben, glaube ich, über Helium noch nie gesprochen. Ich habe den Chairman und CEO bei mir von Desert Mountain Energy. Irwin Olian ist Chairman und CEO und er wird uns jetzt einmal ein bisschen erklären, warum Helium eigentlich so spannend ist und was seine Company macht. Irwin, thank you to have time. I said this in my German introduction. This is the first time I talk about helium. Everybody knows helium from the balloon, it's flying and child parties or birthday parties and so on. Yes. But nobody, I think about it as a commodity.
Exactly. And right now, there's a worldwide shortage in helium. It is unquestionably the hottest commodity. It's in great demand and sources are very limited. The typical users of helium are finding no supplies available. Why is this? Well, as you pointed out, most of us have grown up thinking of helium as something for balloons, blimps, funny voices.
Funny voices. That's good. Yes. It brings me to a point that I bring the microphone a little bit closer. Okay. But for what you can use helium?
What's happened is the high-tech world has discovered helium in the last 5 to 8 years. It's now being used in the hard drives of computers at all the big data centers. It's used to permit the computers to run cooler and faster, okay, which creates a significant cost savings for energy because, in fact, about 23% savings over using oxygen in the hard drives. In addition, helium is used in every MRI in the world as a coolant. Mm-hmm. It's used in supermarkets as part of the barcode scanners. It is used now in nuclear reactors to cool the cores to prevent meltdowns. Mm-hmm. It's used in fiber optic cable. Every day it seems there's a new use in the new economy for helium. And the U.S. National Helium Reserve had been selling approximately 20 to 30% of the world's needs for the last 5 decades. They've now run out of helium to sell.
Okay.
So the projections are a 20 to 25% decline in the absolute availability of helium over the next 3 years in the face of growing demand.
But what I know about helium is a gas. And how you produce gas.
Helium is found in the ground. It's typically associated with natural gas. Mm-hmm. So helium is discovered in a way very similar to hydrocarbons. You drill gas wells. And what is so nice about helium is that because the atoms are very light, helium tends to rise in the ground. So where it is entrapped, typically it's near the surface, so you can drill very shallow holes that are inexpensive. Drilling costs are low, and the helium is very easy to extract through these wells once you find it. The challenge with helium exploration is that because of its lightweight and its ability to escape gravity, typically helium moves up through the Earth's crust into the atmosphere and then vaporizes into space as quickly as it's formed. It doesn't stay within the crust of the Earth unless there is a trapping mechanism in place to hold it there. So when we are exploring for helium, what we're really doing is geological analysis in order to find these traps that are retaining the helium.
You use the same methods what you use for gas founding, so you use seismic and so on for this?
We do 2D seismic, correct, but we're also looking for structural analysis to find specific trapping mechanisms that are unique really to helium. Now, most of the helium is found in very specific formations, and we look for these, they're called anticlinal features, There are some domes as well. Typically, they act almost like a lobster cage to hold the helium in. And where we are is the Holbrook Basin in Arizona. Well, the Holbrook Basin is what is known as a salt basin. And that's very important because the layer of salt acts as a shield to hold the helium in the ground. It can't penetrate that salt cap. So with the anticlinal traps and the salt cap created by, it creates a beautiful trapping mechanism. And really there are only a limited number of places in the entire world where the grades of helium have been found as high as here and in quantities like this.
So do you find already helium, or you are looking for, you are still in the exploration or in the development or in the phase?
The answer is both.
Both?
Right, we are essentially an exploration play.
Yeah.
But we've gone into the most productive basin in North America, and the U.S. has been the world's leading producer of helium to start with. We've gone into the basin that has had the highest grade production in the biggest quantity. We have identified a number of very strong targets, in fact 7 distinct targets. These targets, some of them have had other wells on them that were drilled for other things, such as potash or water or oil, where they've actually bumped into helium. They had showings of helium. So that's why we know there's helium.
There must be.
But no one has done the work of really assessing it, analyzing it, commercial viability, the pressure, the grade, and so on. So it's an exciting play. We're planning to drill 3 wells in the first half of this year. We think each one will have about an 80% likelihood of success. And right now, with buyers clamoring for supplies of helium, we think we're going to be in a terrific position to provide helium in the future as a result of what we're doing today in the basin.
Yeah. We know exactly by resource exploration that it takes a long time for find something, bring it into the production. Especially for gold or silver, it takes years, maybe 10 years or longer before you come into production. We know by gas and oil it's much quicker. So how helium looks like? Is this the same like oil, that you drill something, you have the showing, then you put something separation in that you can separate the helium from the rest, and then you are in production, or how it looks
Joe,
like?
you're exactly right. In fact, as we know, those of us who have owned or been involved in gold and mineral companies, typically it takes 10 to 15 years to put a major mine into production. The great thing about helium, what attracted me, in addition to learning about the shortage and understanding the new uses for helium, is the fact that once we drill the wells and have successful showings of helium, we can be literally generating cash flow within 6 to 12 months of that.
Is the separation process so easy that, and what you must invest?
This is the answer to that. There are certain things that can be easily separated right on site at very low cost. For instance, stripping out nitrogen, getting hydrocarbons, getting water out. Then there are other things that need to be addressed at a refinery to do the final breakdown. So it's really a 2-step process. There is a certain level of separation on site, low cost, quick. Then we ship it in trucks, in canisters, to a nearby refinery where they upgrade it to what is called grade A helium, which is essentially 99.5% pure helium. And to do that, you need a refinery. So, and then the refinery sells it. So essentially, it does involve a certain amount of processing, but it doesn't take a long time to do this.
Okay. What is the average or the selling price of helium? I think, can you take this compared to maybe some resource stuff?
Yes. Here's what's very interesting. Helium is essentially sold in private transactions by negotiation, like a rare earth metal. Mm-hmm. It's a niche commodity. Mm-hmm. You can't look in the paper every day and get the price, and it's by private negotiation. However, the U.S. Bureau of Land Management has traditionally had auctions every year, and those auction prices for wholesale prices have been published, and that provides a good baseline indicator of the price. What they've been going for at those public auctions. Well, in the last 12 months, the auction price for crude helium at a wholesale level has risen from essentially $119 per 1,000 cubic feet to $279. That's an increase of 135% in 1 year. What's interesting is that transactions are now taking place for smaller quantities for as much as $1,000. There is such a shortage. We've gotten phone calls from companies looking for output deals. We've gotten phone calls from smaller buyers who say we're going to be out of business if we can't find helium to meet our needs. We've been selling helium balloons or whatever it is for 30 years. Now we can't get helium for it. So it is, unlike gold, which is languishing, copper, which is languishing, silver, helium is booming, and almost nobody knows it. What I think is so exciting about the helium story is that we were able to get onto this very early. We secured some outstanding leases in what we believe is the best address in the world in a secure jurisdiction. And we're in a position to be selling helium within the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months, generating cash flow to a voracious market that's desperate for product.
So this means for the next 6 to 12 months you drill 3 holes.
Yes.
It's planned for the first half year. You think there's 80% chance of hitting something every hole? Each hole?
And we have, which I might say, we have outstanding technical people. We just announced recently that Robert Rolfing has taken over as our head of technical operations. He has done extensive work in oil and gas drilling all over the U.S. Southwest for over 25 years. He has worked all over the world, in fact, as well. He's drilled over 250 wells, and of those, I think only 2 failed to find some hydrocarbons. So he's very talented, and he's helping to guide our program. We also have a couple of other very talented senior geologists. So I think these people will help ensure success.
Coming to the share structure of the company, how many shares are outstanding and who are the biggest shareholder?
We have 35 million shares outstanding. We have no debt. We have a diversified group of shareholders. I personally own about 12% of the company.
Okay.
There are 2 or 3 other individuals, high net worth individuals, who each own 7 or 8 or 9% of the company. One of them is in management, and basically Haywood Securities, which is one of the leading Canadian resource firms, has been very supportive. They've participated in each of our financings. They have a large position. They probably control about 25%. Their clients of our shares. So it's a good shareholder base. A lot of them are what I would call friends and family. They love the company. They're committed. They want to see us succeed long term. They're not interested in trading the stock. Which we do trade on Frankfurt, by the way. I wanted to just remind our German investor friends that the stock does trade, and the symbol QMO1.
Brings me also to the what is the financial position what you have, and is this cash enough to drill these 3 wells in the first half year?
Right now, we've got about $500,000 in cash. It's enough to drill the first well, but not all 3. And people ask, are you going to raise money? I say, at some point we will, but right now we are in no rush to do that. We have plenty of money for the next few months, so we're going to wait. We think our stock is very undervalued, in spite of the fact that it's been starting to go up. If you look at the chart of DME, you'll find it's a very favorable looking chart compared to most resource stocks. We have significantly outperformed our peer group in the last year. I've had considerable success in the past, specifically a company called Pan-African Mining Corp, which we had a lot of German and Swiss investors in that one. It was in Madagascar, and Pan-African Mining Corp also traded on Frankfurt. That stock was sold for $4.50 a share to an Asian group versus the original financing at 25 cents. So the people who bought that at 25 cents made almost 20 times their money over the subsequent 4 years. And I'm hoping we're going to have similar success with Desert Mountain Energy.
Irwin, thank you for this first introduction to your company. Hopefully next time we have time to make an interview again.
Hopefully we will have a big discovery to report to your listeners.
That would be great. Ja, das war also jetzt einmal eine Einführung in Helium. Helium Exploration ist eigentlich wie eine Gas- und Ölexploration, also sie suchen nach denselben Indikatoren. Es geht darum immer, dass das Helium quasi in einer Kappe gefangen nur ist. Das heißt, es muss eine Schicht geben, die gasundurchlässig ist, so wie bei Gasproduktion eben auch. Man sticht diese Blase sozusagen an und kriegt dann quasi dieses Helium raus. Helium ist ja viel leichter, deswegen steigt ja auch der Ballon in die Luft und man kann das Gas relativ leicht separieren. So, also das Bohren ist viel, viel einfacher aus wie bei einer klassischen Exploration wie Gold und Silber. Da haben wir ja gesagt, da dauert es ja 10, 15 Jahre, bis dass man von der ersten Discovery sozusagen bis zur Mine, wenn man Glück hat, dauert es quasi mindestens 10, 15 Jahre. Und das hat man bei einer Helium-Exploration nicht. Viel wichtiger allerdings ist auch noch, dass es eine extreme Shortage an Helium gibt. Das heißt, Helium wird sehr, sehr viel in der Technologie verwendet. In fast jeder Festplatte, die ganzen Cloud-Centers, diese Datencenter sozusagen laufen auch auf Helium-Basis, weil man Energiekosten spart. Es wird damit gekühlt, es wird sozusagen auch die Brandgefahr reduziert. Helium brennt nicht, das ist auch schön. Und das ist der Grund, warum man es eben sehr, sehr viel auch in der Technologie verwendet. Und er sagt, es kommt fast jeden Tag irgendeine neue Anwendung raus, wo man Helium verwendet. Ob das jetzt Lichtleiter sind oder. Man findet sicher auf einer Webseite in der Präsentation einige Anwendungsbeispiele für Helium. So, der Punkt ist, Heliumpreis steigt enorm, das Angebot schrumpft allerdings und deswegen ist Helium-Exploration ein extrem interessantes Thema. Er will in den ersten 6 Monaten dieses Jahres 3 Bohrlöcher bohren. Geld haben sie für die erste Bohrloch auf jeden Fall. Sie wollen aber jetzt nicht unbedingt Geld raisen. Hoffentlich haben sie auch eine Discovery, dann steigt der Preis sowieso schneller. Helium kann auch dann sehr, sehr schnell, innerhalb von 6 bis 12 Monaten, sind sie dann quasi in Produktion. Das ist auch das große Ziel, dass in den nächsten 12 bis 18 Monate sie sozusagen Cashflow produzieren. Das ist das Ziel von dem Unternehmen. Er hat auch dann selber gesprochen. Die Firma notiert auch in Deutschland, klar. Allerdings, was hat er auch so in der Vergangenheit gemacht? Er hat schon eine Firma damals verkauft, das war die Pan African Mining Corp. Die hat er damals für über $4 verkauft. Das Placement war damals bei 25 Cent. Das heißt, die Leute haben kurz 20-fache vom Placement innerhalb von 4 Jahren zurückverdient gehabt. Und den Erfolg hofft er natürlich auch jetzt wieder mit der Desert Mountain Energy zu wiederholen. Das war ein Startinterview aus Vancouver im Jänner 2019. Tschüss und Baba. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Joe. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.